Hi, this is Eric from Cafe Watercolor. Today we're going to look at the art of Drew Struzan together. So this is not a watercolor book, but I'm pretty sure you have seen his work. Even if you don't know who Drew is, I'm pretty sure you've seen some of the iconic poster that that was all over the world. So those are all hand drawn illustration by this amazing artist. So Drew passed away last week, and it was pretty sad. He was an amazing artist, very iconic. So when I hear about his he passed away, I got this book immediately from Amazon, but I'm pretty sure you can still find it in bookstore and things like that. So let's flip through this book together and we can talk a little bit about his work. So today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's not going to be watercolor video, but I'm pretty sure we can all enjoy some art together. Now, movie posters are nowadays a lot of movie posters are done with Photoshop, with actors photo on it, with Photoshop images and things like that. But there was a time when it is hand drawn, hand painted by artists, and those are beautiful, beautiful work. Right, so this, for example, way back in 1981, the year I was born, Raider of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones. Even if you are not old enough to, to watch this movie, I'm pretty sure you heard of Indiana Jones before. And there was a new movie came out, I think last year, right, Dial of Destiny. So, Indiana Jones is one of the posters that Drew has been painted pretty much every single installment. So these are all hand done. Most of the material he used was acrylic, right? That was a very common material for illustrator to use back in the days. It's still probably still do today on illustration board. And he used a lot of airbrushes. That's why you see some of the very nice and smooth sort of a gradation and things like that, to have like some soft lighting and things like that. So very, very beautiful. What I appreciate about about this artwork is that it shows the process. He shows like different comps and different ideas and different versions, and I think this is the ultimately this is like the version they come up with. So which probably don't have a lot like the symbol that people don't really want to see. So but this is very, very beautiful. Look at just all this detail work. And I think from reading the book, a lot of times back in the days, there's not a lot of the photo source that he can use. So a lot of time he will need to dress up himself and pose as Indiana Jones and use himself as a model, have somebody take the photo. That saves a lot of money as well. And he will use his own photo as a reference and of course paint Harrison Ford instead of his own face. So he's using a lot of the photograph as well. I didn't watch this movie before, but just looking at those comps, I really love that he show all the comps that he does. Very, very beautiful drawing, very rough, but he's definitely have a very, very solid understanding of the facial anatomies, and he got the likeness of the actor down to T. Like they look exactly like the actor who plays those roles, right? And then as an illustrator, you need to be able to paint different things, and look at all the horse, the gesture of the horse, the movement and everything, like the very solid face and stuff. Even though these are just kind of sketches, right? It still look very, very good. And more comps. And that's another thing about the illustrator and movie poster illustrator back in the days, probably today as well, but even more so back in the days, is that they need to be capable of not just paint well, but also design well. Like all the images, the composition need to look very pleasant, look very good. Like the layout of the portraits, right, and the elements that needs to be there, that need to somehow tells the story of the movie, and showing the characters and things here and there. But at the same time, they also need to pleasantly composed. There's a lot of element in a single image, as opposed to what I do most of the time when I'm painting like a landscape painting, like or a just a portrait painting. It's very simple. There's a very few elements in a painting, but in this case, this illustration, there's so many different elements in there, and it needs to compose very well. The sizes and the placement of the things, you need to look balanced and still look very, very nice, right? The thing, very iconic movie poster. Look at all this fire that he's able to do. Back to the Future, definitely one of the classic, and I never seen all this images before, which is very amazing. I love to see all the process that he has. Even his pencil sketches are just really beautiful, very solid looking. So you can see his like strong artistic background. He's able to draw stuff very, very well, and then very like nice different ideas that you can see here. Just the feet, very, very interesting. And he's playing around with the idea of like, the image of a clock, the clock on the clock tower with the character's face. He's holding on to the clock tower, the clock on the clock tower, and all that stuff. I don't know if he also designed the logo as well. Wouldn't surprise me if it does. He's a very good designer as well. And look at all this interesting, different concept. Not all of them might work as well as the one that they decided, but it's the sense of exploration. I just enjoy looking at all these images. Like again, like the composition of these images are just wonderful, just simply wonderful. I love it so much. And again, like some of the time, imagine the time he has to put in for every single one of them. He's not using any digital tools, and back in the days, there's not a lot of it. There's no Photoshop as well, so he have to hand draw everything. He works like 18 hours a day just to do all this movie posters. So a lot of work are putting into it. Interesting idea that he's kind of crammed inside of a stopwatch here as well, and of course the iconic image that he end up with, just absolutely stunning, beautiful movie director, the older movie director who probably have a little bit more say in the studio. They will utilize his work a lot better. And so that's why we see also Back to the Future 2 or 3, the posters are also done by him. And when I was little, when I look at this poster, I saw this photo. I saw it was photographed. I was very little, so I didn't know that a painting could be so well done and matches the artist's face and matches the actor's face so well. Okay. So here's some comms that never turned into a poster, which is something that happens throughout the book. He will do posters and he'll do a bunch of comms and even close to finish the poster, but the studio never get to use it. So, that's part of being an illustrator and an artist as well. He need to have very strong heart when things doesn't go the way you want to, right? Because if I was him and I'd spend countless hours working on posters and the studio decide not to use it, they decided to go with somebody else, or later on we're going to find out even worse, they decided to use some very crappy Photoshop work. Me as an artist, I will be very disheartening and I will feel very, very sad or even angry, right? So Master of the Universe, beautiful image. Adventures in Babysit. This is an interesting one. So he said that, he pretty much finished the image, but then the studio said that, they want the city to be bigger. So what he did is that he very carefully used an X-Acto knife to cut away the figures from the illustration board, which is very scary thing to do. So he cut away the the characters and stuff, and the little teddy bear here is he feel like it's an important part of the movie right here, and the studio tell them to get rid of it. It's 1987, okay? It is not today that you can go to Photoshop and just turn off a layer, right? So it was a pain to get rid of that. But, later on, he still did it, right? And the city in the background looks absolutely amazing. All the characters and stuff. He did lose the bear, even though I think the bear is pretty cute. So, I think what happened is probably like right here. So he probably need to like kind of scrub it away and then just paint over it. So again, a lot of work, just to do it. Okay. So they liked the idea of the huge city in the background for another movie, and then they changed it to Eddie Murphy for Coming to America, which is interesting. But yeah, again, like look at the detail of the city he has to do, right? I don't know how many hours he needs to put in it. And what you can find in these posters is that there's no like weak element, in my opinion. Like every single little details are so well done. Yeah. It's not like, again, it's not like a loose painting. You can just, let some of the stuff just like very, very loose and just, paint some random stroke and call it a day. Like he have to put effort into every single little details. And then more Indiana Jones. Again, like even those sketches just look absolutely beautiful. Yeah, they look like just black and white photographs. Like the value and the character face are just so dead on. It's amazing. So yeah, he even have to kind of draw out the text and stuff. I think I'm not quite sure, but anyways, the color comes and the final color version. Yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. So the latest Indiana Jones movie, the Dial of Destiny, is not done by him, but I do happy about that they want to kind of retain the hand drawn style, right? Even though you can argue that the latest movie poster is not as good as Drew's, but I still happy that the studio is trying to keep it consistent. So more Back to the Future 2 and 3, and he said that the studio already liked the first movie poster. They liked the idea, so they just kind of want to expand on that idea. But he still did a couple of different comps and ideas, trying to explore different possibilities, and gotta respect that. He just always go all out, even though these color comps, they are still very, very interesting to look at. So of course, Back to the Future 2, and then Back to the Future 3, and yeah, it's just very, very, very beautiful work. Yeah, Back to the Future, one of my favorite series since I was little. And yeah, he also do movie poster for animation as well. So Waterworld, I remember watching it when I was a teenager. So this is, yeah, he said it's another heartbreak. So he did this, he did all the comps and did this, and the studio liked the idea, but instead they decided to go with this. I'm pretty sure you can tell which one looks better as an image, but they took the idea. You can see from the final poster they took this idea and like Photoshop it or whatever. I'm not sure if they got Photoshop yet, but it's like a mixture of photograph and some like pretty bad graphic and stuff. It's just not nearly as artistic as this. And I think after mid-90s, as the computer became a little bit more advanced, studios starting to want to use computer Photoshop, have like real actor photo on it, because it somehow maybe look more realistic, look more modern. I don't know what's the reason, but we're gonna see more and more of the poster that he didn't make it into the final the final release, and instead they use some like really crappy Photoshop work, and it's just very, 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 very heartbreaking. Like imagine did all this comps, did all this painting, and then later on studio just go with something else, and then millions of the people didn't see your work until maybe later when a book is released, didn't see your work, and then see a crappy Photoshop work instead. Like, no offense to the person who did the Photoshop poster, but yeah, we have to admit that the hand painted one by Drew is just so much better, so much more lively. Harry Potter. So originally they were going to have Drew paint every single poster for the series. So he got this huge project, with a lot of, I forgot how many like 6 movies. Drew was originally going to do all 6 movies. He started to paint, the first poster, and according to the book, the fan loves it. But at the very end, they got a new head of advertisement, and they decided to go with another direction. They decided to use this instead. All right. Again, no offense to whoever did that, but compared to this is so ugly, like so badly composed, and the color looks off. It's like this weird, blue haunted, like weird cheesy, just like looks like a bad effect, and the figure cutout looks just so bad. Okay, it's just so bad. I could look at Hermione's like hair, right? Drew pay attention to that little strand of hair, so it feels very natural that she's just in front of the background, right? Look at all the hairs and the expression, like the color, the warm light, the warm skin tone, and everything. It just looks not just realistic. It looks absolutely beautiful. Like all the little just beautiful, like the handwriting of the acceptance letter. Okay, even look at those clouds compared to whatever Photoshop thing they did, right? Again, if I am Drew, I will probably go into depression over this because studio decided to go with something like that. And I feel like back in the days, just because computer is such a new medium and it feels excited to have people's photo blended with some images in a poster. Probably at this stage, they feel like hand-done illustration become too old-fashioned, right? They want to show like modern effect and things like that. So maybe like the Photoshop image is better. During that time, they think it's a better decision. But looking back, compare this two image, I just cannot believe that they go with that over this. As an artist, when I see that happens, seriously, when I read the story, it almost brought me to tear because I just put myself into Drew's shoes. I'm just gonna break down, right? So what happened is, even the studio didn't go with his posters. He still went ahead and finished this illustration just for his own sake. He was so into it, he just finished the painting for his own sake, right? And then, of course, he did the other one as well, and which the studio has that as well. All right. Now, to be fair, the next movie, the Photoshop, feels a lot better, right? At least feels a lot better than this one. But still, just comparing the two, this just feels so much more magical. Look at all that, and the other one just feels kind of creepy. I don't know. They want to go with like this haunted, scary movie vibe or something. I mean, I'm pretty. There's some kind of dark moments and scary stuff in Harry Potter. I suppose I'm not a Harry Potter fan, but still, like again, going with crappy Photoshop work instead of this. Again, very, very heartbreaking. So my huge respect to Drew as an artist, not just to be able to come up with beautiful image, but to be able to have such a strong will to take that kind of rejection over and over again. Sometimes not even due to his own ability, it's just that, trying to fight with the studio making dumb decision, in my opinion, and not able to show his work to millions and billions of people. It's just, it's again very, very heartbreaking. So Star Wars, he had a lot of good experience with George Lucas, and again, I don't know much about George Lucas, like personally, his personal life, and so I'm not quite sure. But the fact that George Lucas respect his work and want to consistently use his work as the poster. I'm very, very happy to see that, especially in Star Wars, right? The movie itself has a lot of visual effect, right? Back in the days, now we look back, some of the visual effects are dated, but in early 2000, those effects are considered cutting edge. And to still decided to use an quote unquote old fashioned hand drawn illustration for all of those movies are it's just wonderful to see that George Lucas willing to embrace this as an art form. Okay, so Hellboy, I read briefly through the story of it. I think at the end they didn't use it as well, and again, I think it's around the time that computer become this new hot new medium that every studio want to see, and somehow if they feel like they hire an artist like Drew doing this more of like a traditional hand painted movie poster, the audience was going to feel like they're watching an old movie, something that they have seen before. So Drew did said that he tried to come up with different compositions that that feels different, right? I think this definitely feels different. This almost feel like a comic book cover, which is pretty weird because Hellboy is a comic book. So if you have like hand drawn poster that looks like a comic book cover, I feel like it really fits the theme. But instead, well, what he has done again, very, very beautiful. But again, studio decided to go with something else. Even though Guillermo del Toro really loved the poster, really loved some of the comp that he did, but at the end they decided to go with something else. So yeah, Shawshank Redemption, again, one of the classic. Just look at all the comps that he did and how much he has put into it, right? All this like kind of like a photo-ish look. Like nowadays we can just like kind of Photoshop in all these, even doing as a comp, Photoshop does come so much faster. You can just have artists, you can just have actors' face, their photo, and Photoshop into it, change some lighting, whatever, and it's done. But he has to hand down all of it. And during this time, he never switched to digital, right? And I gotta respect that. Like the man respect his own craft. He never want to compromise. He never want to move to digital. Now, even though, even if he did move into digital, I'm pretty sure he will do some wonderful, beautiful art with Photoshop. But he decided not to, right? Just because he sees that the trend is going digital, he still didn't do it, right? If he changed to digital, he probably get a lot of different jobs and stuff, but he still not. It's the same thing. Zathura, I remember this movie, fun movie, and again, he did the movie poster, but they decided to go with something else. And here is more of a Star Wars posters. He shares some very interesting story here. He said that George loved his work and George is really protective of his work. So George believed that his work is sacred, so it should be only on the movie poster. So it's not going to be show up on any other merchandise. And I think at the end, George gave him a statue of Darth Vader actually kneeling down to Drew as a respect. So how cool is that? Have Darth Vader kneel before you, right? Not the Sith Lord, but like a great artist. Green Miles, I love this movie. Beautiful poster, but yeah, I know that they went for another Photoshop image. Pan's Labyrinth. Yeah, he also shared that it didn't, the studio didn't use his poster because it looks too much like art, right? And for Drew, it's like, what kind of reason is that, right? Movie should be an art form, and movie poster should be art as well. But you don't want movie poster to look like art. You want it to look like, I don't know, advertisement. So yeah, as an artist who started his work back in the 80s all the way to the 20s, he has to see his, his art form slowly go, extinct. It's very, very heartbreaking. Yeah, heartbreaking for me to read some of the stories. Very hard to read. Blade Runner, one of the classic. Look at those drawings. Just yeah, the gesture and the value and the composition. A little rim light in the back here. Look at how solid those figures look, and yeah, how wonderful the lighting looks. Okay, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. The last Indiana Jones movie he worked on. And again, George Lucas want to continue to use his hand-drawn poster. So yeah, I believe this is the poster that's published. So thank you for flipping this book through with me. And yeah, as an artist, I am inspired, not just by Drew's beautiful painting, but again, his willpower, his consistency, even his determination, or even his stubbornness, if you would, that he just doesn't want to give up painting stuff with hand. And I think in the age of AI and things like that, the technology keep advancing, and we see this and see what's going on with technology. Now, I don't want to bash technology. My day job as a game artist, I use a lot of computer. But how do we use it? How do we evolve this art form? Do we just use it because it's new? Do we use it because it's the new thing out there so we can use it as a pitch? Or is it something that we can really empower artists to let them create beautiful images? Because I start to see a lot of AI images out there that are very poorly done, and people love it. I don't know why. Artistically, they're bad images, but because it's AI, because it's the technology, people are awed with that technology, but not exactly the art itself, not exactly the image itself. Right now, if Drew at a certain point of his career, he switched to Photoshop, I am pretty sure he can do beautiful job, and I wouldn't judge him. Right? There's a lot of artists who start with traditional and going to digital and do wonderful work. But for me to see this and see his career, that he never gave up drawing comps by hand, painting poster by hand, the craftsmanship that he put into his work, the care, the love, and even though there's a easier alternative, which is digital, he never get to it. Is just, I have nothing but respect for this guy. And it's very unfortunate that he passed away. I mean, way before he passed away, he retired, so he didn't put out any new work. But looking over this, it really just kind of bring me back to perspective as an artist. We make art because that's what we artists do. There might be new technology coming out. They will only replace us if we let it. Again, I'm not an AI hater. I do think it can become a very powerful tool, but hand-drawn art, by real artists should never be forgotten, like Drew's art. And that's why I still paint, in my spare time when I'm not making video game art, because I just don't want to lose that connection of holding a paintbrush, mixing the color, and putting brushstrokes on paper and see something tangible at the end of the painting. So thank you so much for watching this very casual video, a very special video. I will have a watercolor video coming out soon about painting autumn trees, and hope you stay tuned. I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are. This is Eric from Cafe Watercolor. I will see you next time. God bless.